Greetings, magical souls. I hope everybody is doing well out there. I've come on today to share some insights that I have received this morning as I was doing my journaling. And of course, as I was doing my journaling, I got that, what I think is my higher self coming in and going, you need to share some of this. So in the past, for the past long while, a lot of us have been going through relationship issues. And it seems that it was really, really brought to the fore over the Lion's Gate. Now, some things dropped in for me, and I think we know this, but that's the thing, is we know it. And what dropped in for me is that we need to start feeling it and being it. So for the relationships, we know that, we often walk around and we go, yeah, I've accepted that I can't change so-and-so. I know I'm only responsible for myself. And when I change me, I change my reality, all those kinds of things. But the message I got this morning as I was journaling is that we need to now start really using our energy and working with our energy. We know that that is the biggest part of ourselves, that this physical avatar is not the biggest part of us. And I've said this before, that we can't intellectualize our way out of the beingness. So it's almost like just knowing that you're in charge of yourself and that the energy body is important, and we know all these things, but are we embodying them? And I feel like that's where we are at the moment. And something happened to me recently where I did something just for me, energetically. I did something just for me that was absolutely huge. I have noticed how when certain things used to happen, when I did certain things, that this time when I did it, because I am different and because I have shifted, those things that played out around me didn't play out in the way that they normally played out. So that was the one realization. But on the back of that came that we can try and explain ourselves 50 million different ways to other people. And if they are not on the same radio station that we are on, in other words, they are not a vibrational match, they are never going to hear us. And this is what brings me into the relationships. So what I did was as I said, I have been doing work for many years. The past 35 years, I have been doing work on certain relationships in my life. And I guess you could say my relationship with me, that's really what I've been doing the work on. When, when you come to think of it, who you're really working on, because you can't work on somebody else. You can only work on yourself. So maybe I should rephrase that and say I've been doing the work on me, on my relationship with me for the past 35 years. And it's interesting because what I have felt in the past, the past 5 years, the past 10 years, 20 years, 2 years, 1 year, 6 months, last week, there has been a constant shift and a constant movement. Nothing has remained the same. But what was really important is that I realized that by me, I didn't realize at the time how profound it was, but by me holding space for myself, and by me doing a little ceremony where I set the intention to disconnect myself from all that no longer serves me within this relationship or these relationships. If there might be some of you out there like me who it isn't just one relationship, it's more than one that's being put through the ringer at the moment. And it was really, really an important realization that, as I say, at the time, I didn't realize what I was doing. But on the other side of it, I have realized that it's changed my outside world. It's changed how that relationship with that other person is showing up for me. But what have I done? I've shifted my energy. I went into that ceremony with a very clear intention to release all that no longer serves me and the things that I feel are holding me back, constricting me, no matter how hard it is from my human perspective. And it has been the most liberating thing I have ever done. And the more interesting thing is that I haven't uttered a word, not a physical word to the other party. All I've done is shifted my energy. I've shifted the space that I'm in. I have let go. I have relinquished control. I have surrendered to this inevitable fact that now sits in front of me. So where I'm going with this is, for those of you out there who are perhaps under a roof with somebody and you physically cannot leave the relationship because of financial reasons, and maybe there could be a myriad of things, a million reasons why you cannot leave physically, and why you cannot utter the words verbally to this person who you know in your heart and your soul is no longer aligned to your path. We need to start working with our energy more. So what I mean by that is that you can create that space. You can go and set the intention that you are willing to release what no longer serves you. And you do the ceremony or just hold that sacred space for yourself. And you cut the ties as you see fit with this person. Because remember that in the big scheme of things, they are contracted to you for a reason. They are contracted to you for your soul's growth. They are contracted to you for lessons. And this is the beauty of this, is that once you do that, because if you have reached a point where maybe you feel you've outgrown it, for me, that is an indication that the lessons have been learned and there's no more need for that contract. And as I say, this may not resonate with you, but this, I'm talking about my experience. This is what really dropped in for me this morning, is that it's like the contract has now been fulfilled and there is nothing more that I can gain from it. So I wrote physical letters and I burned them. I tore up contracts, soul contracts. I cut cords. I did all these things. So what I'm saying to you is, if you're in that space, you can do all these things energetically without uttering a word to the other party. Because we are now at the point where our energy is speaking louder than our words. And that's what was so profound for me this morning, is I work in energy. This is my thing. This is what I do all day, every day. And I had not had this epiphany till this morning. I work with energy, and I did not have this realization until this morning of what I just did, what I have been doing energetically is what is shifting my reality around me. So just getting back to, if you are in a situation where you physically can't leave, by you shifting your energy, you may find that there is just an opening of sorts that comes where you've then got an avenue, or there's an opportunity for you to step away from that relationship physically. You might find that that person starts behaving differently towards you because you have shifted. The importance here is that it is all for us. It's all for us to do. We cannot do it for anybody else. It's all for us. And I know that we've said that so many times before, but this feels like it needs to be said. This felt mammoth for me this morning, and yet, like, well, duh, I know that. But I don't think I'd fully realized it, integrated it, internalized it, and actually I wasn't being it. I think that's key. And we now have to start aligning with our own energy. So if I'm talking about doing this and doing that, and I know this and I know that, I now need to start being that. And it's really hard because sometimes there is this integration, you first have it in the mind and then you feel it in the heart, but then you're still not quite acting that way. And then eventually you become it. And that's where the integration may come in. But the message really is that you can do so much with your energy, just like I did with my energy. So that's the message. I think what we've been doing is, just like we're going, yes, well, we're doing all the inner work, we're doing the work for the collective, we're the front runners, we're holding the light, we're holding the space to try and change the world out there. It's exactly the same with trying to change the people that are close to us or the people that we have relationships with. We need to adopt the same attitude. It's all for me to do. It's for me to shift. And when I shift and I change my radio station, I change my frequency, I change my vibration, the certain things that are no longer of that vibration fall away. But the beauty of it is it allows the new to come in. I'm sitting here in ceremony. I opened up space. I have candles burning, because I wanted to also energetically convey to everybody watching this video what I'm trying to say, because I am now trying to get my energy to speak to your energy, rather than just convey this for the mind to comprehend. This is huge. We are creative beings. We are a part of source. This is how we create our realities, and we need to stop thinking about it just in the world, but we need to start bringing it a little bit closer to home. And the reason I wanted to share this today is because I know that all of us are battling with these relationship things. It feels like, why are we suffering even more when we know that we're on the path and this does not feel good? Why is everybody disappearing out of my life? And also know that it may be that some of you have experienced where you are not the one that has wanted to verbalize something to another party, but you may find that people around you are almost, disowning you. They are almost lashing out at you and finding fault with you, and you are feeling like your relationships are strained with certain people, but it's not from your perspective. They are almost putting you through the ringer, so to speak. And I feel that that is important in and of itself, because it shows that you have shifted. So they are unhealed and they are projecting all their unhealed and their wounds onto you. But you have shifted and you are no longer in that frequency match. And they, I think, energetically are feeling that you are no longer there. And the only thing that they know how to do, because they haven't done the work, is to lash out, because they haven't claimed their sovereignty. They haven't claimed that responsibility for everything I do is on me. The way I am is on me. So for anybody out there that it maybe has been sort of ostracized and kicked out by family members, friendships, whatever, if you are experiencing any of that, but it's come from the other side, know that you have shifted. And particularly if you're sad from a human perspective about it, and it bothers you to some degree, but you know that you're still aligned to your path, it means that the authenticity of this is more important for you. And it shows that you have done the work and you are doing the work, because of course we're never fully done with the work, I don't think. But it shows that you've shifted into a different space. And I wanted also, all of us need to acknowledge that. We need to acknowledge the work we've done. As I was journaling this morning, I realized that a lot of us are going, why are we going through this? Why does it feel like we are being tortured when we know we are on the right path? And when it's It's just something that is going to happen because you are doing the work, and it's something that you really, really, really need to be proud of. You know, this has not been, there's a reason why this is called the hero's journey. It is not easy. And we are the forerunners, we are the front runners, we are holding space. So it's not even to say that if you've got somebody that's lashing out at you, that in a year's time or whatever, that person might have come round and might have done the work, because remember, you might be catalyzing them to do something. This goes both ways. And if they don't come around, well, we live in a free will universe, and that's their choice. But by then, I don't think that those things will matter to us so much, because we will be, well, because we're continuously doing the work, we're just continuously inner standing, and we're integrating everything that we are doing. But what came forward for me this morning is that a lot of us are finding this really grueling, really hard, and it does almost, in some days, it does feel like we're being punished. Like it was easier to just go, let me just stay in these relationships because it's easier. But was it easier? It might have been comfortable and it might have been known, but was it easier? And I think these are the truths that we really need to start asking, the questions that we need to ask ourselves and see how that fits. They are truths that we need to be asking ourselves. Was it easier? Because if I have to be honest with myself, no, it wasn't easier. That felt like hell. This feels like hell again, but it's not. As I say, there are no words. I'm trying to convey this energetically. When you do the ceremony, and when you decide that you need to disconnect from somebody, and you don't need to verbalize it, go do it for you. Go do it emotionally, mentally, physically for you, spiritually and energetically. Go and do it for you and see what changes in your life. But by going and doing that for you, and by the letting go of that relationship that deep down you know doesn't serve you, even though you might not physically be able to leave it right now, by the letting go of, it's a very powerful intention, because then what do? The image I had in my head when I was doing this was that I was tethered to an old version of me and a lower timeline. And that when I was cutting all those cords and tearing up all those contracts, as I was drifting up, I suddenly saw myself with wings, actual wings that appeared, and that I just soared and I just took off. And that every time I try and go back into that place, I tether myself back there. And that's why it feels so confined, like I've got to get out. I can't take this any, because it feels confining and restricting for me, because I am so expanded at the moment. And it's my choice to keep going back to that previous version of me. And the problem is that those are unhealed versions of me, because remember, all versions of ourselves exist at this one moment in time, through all space, time, and dimension. So why would I want to go back to an unhealed version of me when I've done so much work on myself? So that is the question that you need to ask yourself. Why would you want to go back there? A comfort zone is no place to grow, and a comfort zone is no place to fly. A comfort zone is comfortable, but it has very finite boundaries, and you cannot find your wings there. As hard as it is, the thing about the letting go is that it allows you to then create space for the new space that you are in, and then you allow the universe to give you things that now match your new vibration, your new state of being. Instead of focusing on why does this feel so grueling, why does this feel like torture, why does it feel like a punishment, why, if I'm so aligned to my path, are things so difficult, think about, if you allow and surrender to what is going on, you are allowing, and remember, you are allowing and surrendering really for the embodiment of the higher self. for every little bit of expansion we have, we allow more of the higher self to be embodied. And that is the true self. The ego self is not the true self. So what are we actually losing? We're losing all the parts of ourselves that are not true. They were not the true versions of ourselves, and we are embodying more of the true version of us. We are embodying more of us in our authenticity, the healed part of ourselves. Because remember, the higher self is not traumatized by any of these human experiences. So when you let go, you allow space for more embodiment of the higher self, and you allow space for more relationships, more experiences that are now aligned to this new space that you're in. But why do you want to go back to the unhealed versions of yourself? And me, as I sit here now, there's still parts of me that I'm still healing. So I don't want to make it sound like, I've done my shit and I'm all okay, because I'm not. This is a journey. It's not a destination. But it struck me as to, when I saw this image in my head, it was, why do I keep going back down there? Why do I keep going back down there? And why does it feel so awful? Because it's not the real me. And that version of me had a million wounds, and hopefully the version of me that's sitting here now only has hundreds of wounds, or thousands of wounds. So I hope that's making sense. I did want to read you something from my journal. So many of us are feeling traumatized and tired, and quite frankly, like we're not being supported and held as we walk this path. But because we are seeing the changes is proof of us having shifted. We are different, and so all the old things around us are falling away. Yes, it's hard, but instead of being attached to the loss and the old, what about being focused on the mystery of what's now going to come in? Allow the magic and the uncertainty, because when we get there, we will really be shown just how good it can get, or that it can be. It's again surrendering, allowing, and being okay with not knowing, and being okay with the discomfort, because that's where the true state of trust really is. So that was how I ended off my journal this morning. And I hope you can feel those words, because as I don't remember writing that, but as I read it back, it was like, whoa, occasionally when I'm journaling, I think that's like my higher self, because I can't come up with shit like that. Just do you, be kind to you, and just know that this too shall pass, and know that it's all unfolding for you to fully step into your authentic self. And I know it's scary, but you have nothing to fear except fear itself. On the other side of this, I believe, is pure magic. So I'm going to switch my camera over now and just share some cards with you, because after I journaled, I heard the dragons going, pull a card, pull a card. Well, the cards, I feel, also convey a certain energy, which maybe you can allow to just integrate, and you can sit with it for the next 24, 48 hours and see how you feel. So the first card that I pulled out was the healer. It's just beautiful. There's such a sense of peace from this card. There's also a circle, just them in their little bubble. Dragons can be helpers, and if you carry dragon's blood in your veins, it's likely you want to leave this planet better than you found it. Just remember the one rule all fierce beings employ before contributing healing services: offer to help those who are helping themselves. Another healing principle dragons know: you can only meet someone as deeply as they're willing to meet themselves. So whether you fly high or dive deep, you must understand who and what you're dealing with. Now is the time to employ discernment and offer healing hand in hand, paw in claw. The thing that really stuck out for me in this message is, you can only meet someone as deeply as they're willing to meet themselves. And remember what I said, if somebody's lashing out at you, they have not done the work. They are not ready to meet themselves there. And it is okay for you to let go, and it's okay for them to let go. The next card, because I got two that flipped out together, is the Playmate. And this for me was, when I saw it, it was again a reminder to not take ourselves so seriously. This has been a theme over the past couple of days where we just are, we are so serious about this. And I know that it is so hard to do this from the human perspective, because we are human, we are in the 3D, and we don't want to bypass that and pretend that it's not here. But it's very, very easy to get stuck in the negative and the woe is me, and why is this happening, and why is it so hard? Bring joy to your life. Find something that lights you up, whether it's a little project, whether it's a craft, whether it's dancing and singing, whether it's just whatever it is, sitting with your animals, reading a good book, watching a funny movie. There are a lot of people out there at the moment that I see say, you can't listen to the old music because it's programming your mind, and this is why you must only listen to high vibe music. I go, that does not resonate with me. I don't listen to a lot of the new music at the moment because it doesn't resonate with me, and it doesn't feel right. But I grew up in the 80s, and a lot of that music, sometimes it'll come on and I'll find my body moving and my foot's tapping and I'm singing. It happened to me the other day. I was really down in the dumps, and I thought, I'm not going to put on spiritual music. I'm going to put on a playlist and see what comes on. And the second song that came on, I was dancing around in my cabin like an absolute idiot, and I was singing at the top of my lungs, and trust me, I cannot sing. By the end of that song, it was 3 minutes later, I was in a completely different space and I was in a completely different vibration. So it's always about your intention, remember. And music is a frequency in and of itself. So if you have things that make you feel good, and they are from the 80s or the 90s or from the 70s and the 60s and whatever it is, put it on to raise your frequency and vibration, because we don't need to be down in the dumps all the time. We need to sit with ourselves when we are there, but we don't need to stay there. That's where the suffering is. We can choose not to stay there. And we have come far enough along this path now to know that we do not need to stay in the suffering. We are the only ones that cause our own suffering. So this is a reminder. Be the playmate. Find a playmate, whether it's music, whether it's a friend, whether it's an animal, or even if it's just being out in nature. Go play with the fairies. I promise you, they're always around. Go play with the dragons. Go play with the angels. All of them. Go play with your guides. Go play with your higher self. The message in this card is, now is the time to play. Whether you're working on a goal, busy with achieving something, or attempting to make a major discovery, stop and play. It can seem counterintuitive, but play is the highest form of research. Einstein said that. It leads to untold new insights, inventions, and flat-out joy. And what is joy? Joy is expansive. If you want to feel vital, refreshed, recharged, and experience the power of your soul's wingspan, play. We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. Let your spirit take wing by giving yourself the updraft of play. And this is what led to some of my moving through some of my grief the other day when I was going through what I was going through. After that, dancing to that song for those 3 minutes changed everything. It shifted my perspective, and I could see things in a completely new light. And then I felt called to pull a tarot card. So after that, I pulled a dragon tarot. And what popped out but the number 8? I tell you, you cannot make this up. This is such a beautiful card. It's the strength card. It's all about inner strength. Look at this woman with her dragon. She's barefoot, she's grounded. All those little guys at the bottom, they are symbolic of her guides and her teachers. But her willpower is strong. She is determined. And there's something about the strength card, and our inner strength really gets tested, because remember, when you're on a path of spiritual development, because we have to be tested and we have to up level and we have to integrate before we can move up and onto a higher level of our spiritual development. You know, she's also holding a rose. To me, the rose is always indicative of love. That shows that she is honoring her heart. She understands in the strength and the inner strength. The dragon is also directing a very, very controlled gust of fire. It really is a conscious understanding that everything is constantly moving, the energies of creation and destruction all the time. But that's how we grow. Things cannot remain static. Everything is always moving. So when we are feeling really down in the dumps and whatever, call on that inner strength that you have, because I can tell you guys, we've all got it in spades after the journeys that we're all on. You have that inner strength. Find your inner rose. Call on your dragons, call on your friends, call on your family and your team in spirit. Because remember that you've got soul family. So even when, and maybe that's how I should end this off, even when you feel like you're losing all your human family, remember that you have got your soul family. And your soul family are guiding you along this journey every single step of the way. And I believe some of us are soul family. We don't have a lot of us that are around. As I mentioned, that's why I've created my Patreon. A lot of us don't have people physically near us that are on this path, but we are creating this community globally. And that's why for now it just has to be online. We'll make do with what we've got until we can travel in our light bodies and go poof to wherever we want to be. But yeah, no, joking aside, it just find your tribe and keep your joy up and find the rose in your heart. Find the rose in your heart and just know that you're supported, and you're supported by yourself. You're supported by your higher self, and you're supported by your soul. So I hope that has helped a lot of you. It's rough for a lot of us. Just know that this too shall pass. It's all part of the journey, but never let anybody clip your wings. And if you feel like you can't expand your wings, then that's something that you need to look at. Because I got my wings last week. Ironically, all of this has happened after the dragons took me on a journey to meet the fairy queen. So the irony is not lost on me. The fact that I've always had purple hair and always felt a kinship to the elemental realm, particularly the fairies and the pixies and the little brownies and what have you. I seem to have, I don't know, I went to meet the fairy queen, and since then I feel like I've got my wings, and there's been quite a monumental shift. Sending you so much love. Hang in there. Just remember to focus on how good it can get rather than how bad it currently is. So I'll leave you with those words and wish you all a magical day.